Hi Pop Shop America family, my name is Narola, and today we'll be painting this sweet cupcake triptych. But before we do that, let's like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Quick supply rundown: crimson paint, fuchsia paint, white paint, paint strip, paint brushes, palette, paper, and a little cute canvas. Alright, we're going to start with applying some white paint, fuchsia paint, and crimson paint to our palette. These will be the main colors we'll be using to create the grounds of our paintings today. What makes this a little bit different is we're doing something called a triptych. And the triptych is a group of paintings that are related, a group of 3 paintings that are related by subject matter or theme. So today, instead of just doing one, we're going to have 3 little paintings of cupcakes. So I'm starting here by mixing a little of the fuchsia and the white to get like a pale pink ground. And just using either a filbert or a flat paintbrush to apply the ground quickly. Now that we let our canvas dry a little bit, we're going to use yellow to start our basic drawing. And I'm going to start with the base of the cupcake, like the cupcake liner area, using this bright yellow that pops so beautifully against this pale pink. And today I'm kind of painting in the style of Andy Warhol, who was a famous artist from the time of the 1960s. And he kind of operated as a pop artist, and so he was kind of using, just kind of painting kind of regular everyday things, or even using like a printing technique. Like you probably know him from seeing like his soup cans, his Campbell soup cans, or his portraits of celebrities. And what he would do for, say, let's look at the portraits of celebrities, which are kind of what's influencing what I'm doing today. He would create like a very bold and vibrant ground for the portraits to rest upon, and then he would use like really vibrant colors. Like say he'd have like a bright yellow ground, and then he'd make the image of the celebrity like in a bright pink. You know, so none of it was very naturalistic. So that's kind of what we're shooting for today, just something kind of fun and bright and not necessarily very naturalistic. And so I've used the yellow paint and like a thin pointer brush just to kind of sketch in the cupcake. And so I've got the base of the cupcake liner, the little fluted edge, the pleating, and of course the frosting at the top of the cupcake. So I mixed a little bit of the peach with the yellow to create a kind of a golden yellow that we're going to use for the cake portion of the cupcake. And it goes really nicely with the brightness of just the basic yellow, and this warm kind of golden yellow color looks very much like a kind of a lemony cakey color. So I'm guessing that's what we're going with for this one. This is a lemon cake cupcake, and definitely the frosting itself is lemon flavored. Just adding a little bit more frosting, and you'll notice that the profile for this cupcake is kind of tallish and slim, so it's not taking up a whole lot of space on the canvas, just a little bit of the center. And you'll see how it compares with the other cupcakes we're going to draw in this series. Okay, so I'm adding in like some yellow to the left hand side and adding in a little bit more of that peachy color to get like that darker golden yellow to go in on the base of the cupcake to kind of give that impression of the cupcake paper sticking to the cupcake. It's a little bit darker underneath because it kind of gives the impression of a shadow, a little bit of weight to the cupcake in a very simple way. Just going in to add some more lines to give that impression of pleating. Adding a little bit more of that peach. And now we're adding to the right side of the cupcake a little bit of that darker color. And that will give an impression of shadows. So for our purposes, the lighting is kind of coming from maybe the slightly upper left-hand side. So the right-hand side will be a little bit darker to show that those are shadows. darkening a little bit more to put at the bottom to give that sense of weight, sense of shadow, in a very simple way. And going up a little bit on the right hand side to indicate that shadow, but the light's not quite reaching there as much. And we're going to add some of that also to the frosting too, to continue that idea of the shadow be part of this cupcake. And honestly, the shadows aren't even very dark because it's such a vibrant kind of high-key painting. Okay, so now we're adding a little bit more white to our yellow. And we're going to come around to that left-hand side and add some highlights to continue with the idea that the light is hitting the cupcake on the side. See how it adds kind of a sense of volume to it. And we're going to add some to the cupcake liner too. And also help bring out that kind of fluted edging. I really love painting in the fluted edge. Like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay, and bringing it down into the cupcake to create kind of like abstract pleats on the cupcake liner. And now, just for fun, I'm going to add in some little zips of color, blue, on the right hand side, and some little zips of pink on the left hand side to kind of continue that feeling of it being like pop art, a little bit more graphic, and also to kind of tie together with the other paintings in this triptych series. Just adding a little bit of a curl at the top just for aesthetic purposes, just to kind of make it look a little more finished and attractive for me. Behold our first finished cupcake, and on to the next one. So our next canvas, we are going to mix a little bit more of the fuchsia and the red to get a slightly richer pink. I would call this particular shade of pink like a cotton candy shade. It's a little bit richer, a little bit darker than the previous one. So once again, using our filbert or our flat brush to apply paint quickly. I like to get good coverage there. We got our canvas painted, let it dry a little bit. And now this time we're going to use blue for our color, primary color for this cupcake. And remember we added like those little zips of blue to the last one, and it helps to tie it to this one. And you notice that the profile of this cupcake is going to be a little bit wider, and the color is going to be a little bit more, I won't say vibrant, but I think just it's a little bit more contrasting. And I think the way this blue pops against this medium tone pink is so beautiful. So as you can see, this cupcake is a little bit wider. It takes a little bit more space on the canvas, and I like the curves of the base of it. So we're gonna have a lot of fun putting in like those little cupcake lines at the bottom. So what I'm doing now is kind of picking out the basic shapes that I want for the frosting. And I like to use like a pointer, this little slimline brush to kind of do my sketching. Just picking out the basic shapes I'm going to want to use or focus on. So once again, like I say, this isn't photoreal. This is, you know, kind of graphic, kind of simple. Just kind of keep it easy. Now using my liner brush to create those pleats in the cupcake liner. Zip, zip, zip. And of course, drawing those lines up to my favorite little fluted edging on the cupcake liner. And you'll see me kind of pause just to kind of observe whatever my reference photo is, or just to kind of think about where I want shadows or highlights to be. And it's okay to do that. Just kind of take your time. Now I'm adding like a little white to the blue and use that to kind of sketch in the cupcake liner. Like I say, once again, those areas of shadow or where the cupcake is sticking, cupcake liner is sticking to the cupcake. And now adding a little bit of white so I can add a little lighter blue to the top. And now you see I'm adding some fresh white to the palette, because if you notice, the original white I was using now has some other color in it, like a little bit of that pink. And I don't want any other colors to contaminate or mix in with my blue. I want it to stay clean. So, especially for this lighter blue I'm adding to the left-hand side. So we're staying with the idea that the lighting is coming from the left-hand side. And so that's where the lighter side of the blue, lighter blue comes from for that left-hand side, along with the more vibrant and darker blue for the other side, the right-hand side. And I'm adding like a maybe slightly lighter blue than the blue that's on the right-hand side of the cupcake at the top here at the bottom, giving that sense of volume again. Okay. And now, while that kind of dries a little bit, I'm adding a little bit of a darker pink underneath the frosting to indicate the cake of the cupcake again. So I'm guessing this is probably some delectable strawberry. Isn't it beautiful how that darker pink kind of sings with the lighter pink and pops beautifully against these beautiful blues? Now I added a little bit of red to darken, so we can apply that underneath the frosting to give the impression of shadows. And it's also such a beautiful color that sings nicely with the rest of the colors. Okay, so a little bit of light pink to that fluted edge. Can you tell us my favorite part? I think I probably mentioned it. Anyway, so also we're bringing down a little bit of that light pink from the fluted edge down into the cupcake liner to highlight those pleats. Give it like a kind of a very simple sense of dimension. Adding a little light blue for highlights, also to bring out those pleats and also to tie it to the rest of the painting. Now I'm mixing like a medium blue to go next to the darker blue to kind of give that feeling that the light is kind of hitting and wrapping around the cupcake to give it that sense of dimension. And once again, like in the first one, you can see how that darker pink ground kind of comes through the blue and kind of does a little bit of the heavy lifting for you, so you're not having to cover the entire cupcake with paint. It looks really beautiful. Now we're mixing in more fuchsia and more red to get our final color for our final canvas, which is kind of a bubblegum pink. Just a little bit darker, a little bit richer than the other ones. Once again, using the Faux Bitter flat brush to get good, quick coverage of these smaller canvases. Okay, a little time to dry, and now we're just going to use white to sketch in our cupcake. Now, this cupcake base is a little simpler to me than the others. A little more of a basic shape. You kind of see that it's more like a kind of a trapezoid, and we got like a rounded shape sitting on top. I'm just using the white to kind of sketch in the basic shape of this cupcake. And to me, it feels like it's going to have a little bit of a softer profile. And this cupcake is going to have a little bit of a difference in that it's going to have a piece of fruit on it. It's going to have a strawberry adorning it. Kind of a sweet, kind of a soft heart shape. So now we're drawing in the other curves of the frosting, so indicating where those are going to be. Once again, we're keeping it kind of loose, kind of simple. Not looking to indicate all the details of the cupcake, just enough, just a little hint, so get an idea of what we're looking at, what we're working with. Those pleats, zip, 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 for the pleating and the cupcake liner. I kind of like those zesty, zippy lines. Okay, now we're just drawing in the innards on the strawberry. And with this one in particular, we'll see how the ground kind of comes in to help us with our painting. So I let the white dry a little bit, and now I'm coming in with just like almost full red for the edge, the outside edge of this strawberry. Look how rich that looks. So vibrant. Okay, we'll put a little bit around this edge too. We're not seeing as much of it. We're seeing more on the right hand side, and we're kind of using our brush to pull in some color towards the center. Cleaning up the edge up a little bit. There we go. Now we're going into the other side. A little bit. There you go. Do-do-do-do. And then doing the same thing on the other side. And you notice that that darker pink kind of stands in really nicely for the inside of the strawberry. So you're not having to really paint that. So you're just using the darker, like the play of the darker red and then the darkish pink, and allowing that to kind of become the inside of your strawberry. So you're not having to overpaint it. There you go, just like a kind of almost a little wash of color for that inside heart there. Then maybe put just a little bit of a lighter pink and white to kind of highlight the insides of the strawberry. Okay, and now we're moving on to the frosting. It's a little bit looser on this one, because I feel like this cupcake has more rounded and kind of voluptuous shapes to it. And so we're kind of being a little bit looser and freer with how we're applying our paint. And this one feels like the light is coming more from, still coming from the left, but more from the top. So we're letting the ground kind of help us out and work for us. So we're just kind of painting lighter and darker shades on top of it, kind of bring out the curves of the cupcake. You notice I'm using lighter paint now on top of the light paint that I used before to bring out highlights, and letting the darker pink ground kind of be like the mid ground or the darker ground or the shadows for this particular cupcake. All right, so I'm adding some curves at the bottom here because where our frosting is kind of spilling down, a little bit darker pink, kind of bring out more of those curves and those shadows a little bit. But it's still very soft though. There really are no harsh shadows in this particular one. So now I'm adding a little bit of darker pink reddish at the bottom to indicate where, repeat after me, the cupcake liner is sticking to the cupcake. Also to indicate where shadows are, to give that sense of soft dimension to it. See how I'm softening at the bottom there, so it's not as harsh. And I couldn't resist adding in a little bit of that fluted edge. Just 'cause I think it's so pretty, even though it's mostly hidden underneath this one. But I still wanted to add it anyway. Adding some little bits of white to add to the pleating. Zippy white lines pull down from the pleating. Now we're adding a little bit of green, little hints of green for our strawberry, for those little leaves. And voila, our cupcake triptych.